it's kind of an arrogance, attitudinal problem that we all are to blame for. We really need to deal with this problem. We need to get people together, speaking with one voice, and basically it boils down to one word we have to share with each other.
Okay.
That's respect.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks very much.
I'm going to open with a question, and this is going to all the candidates. An issue for any elected representative, president down to selectmen, is the balance of the will of the people versus the good of the people. If elected, how will you balance what the voters want versus what may be the best for the town in the long term?
Well, I think what we have to do is get consensus. We have to get people together, talking, trying to figure out what is the best thing for the town. We have to listen. We have to lead. What the voters say ultimately is the answer to what happens in this town. However, my position as a selectman is always to optimize what is best for this town, and I will always say what I think is best for this town. I will obviously have to convince people, more people than not, to vote a certain way because I think it's the best thing to do, the right thing to do. So I will always answer questions or lead in the manner that I think that will lead to what is best for the town. Ultimately, I hope that the town votes the best way for the town and what will hopefully be my way, I suppose. But I know that doesn't always happen, and I'm prepared for that. But whatever the town votes for, that's what we will do.
All right, well, kind of as a follow-up to that, in addition to the issue of the will versus the good of the people, how we deal with the concept or the issue of the voice of many involved voters or the special interest groups versus, or secondarily, to the silent majorities. You have people who are coming and voicing specific concerns to you, whatever the issue may be, and then you have the silent majority who show up to the polls.
Well, you really don't know what the silent majority believe in unless they speak up. The only things that we hear about today are the people who come out and talk and tell us what they feel about. We need to bring people out more. And why are they the silent majority? Why aren't they coming out and speaking and telling us what they feel? We should give them opportunities and encouragement to get out here, to come to selectmen meetings and tell us what they feel and how they feel and why they are voting a certain way. Maybe it's just they don't want to get involved. They don't feel a part of what's going on. We need to get them out here. And I'm not sure that we've had the encouragement to do that. I've only been here 5 years, and I only got into this about a year ago. I saw people that were at town meeting that were in listening to town meeting, but were not registered voters. Why is that? Why haven't we gotten more people out? We need to do that. We need to encourage, and then we will be able to hear everyone's voice.
Another question. Selectmen are dedicated volunteers who work basically a second job for free, at least in this town. How are you planning to balance?
Can we change that?
Luckily, that's the choice of the town and the public, not the selectmen.
We're going to have a hearing on this subject on May 9th.
How are you planning to balance the needs of family life with the needs of town life as a selectman?
Well, this is an issue for me because I do have 2 young children, and I love spending time with them. It's that simple. I'm running for selectman because I think I can make a difference here. I think I have something to give of myself to the town of North Reading. I promise to do everything I need to do that job. I will certainly balance that with spending as much time as I can with my family and my children. I will never be able to say anything different because my family is so important to me. But since I'm running for this job, this is also important, and I do understand that I serve all of the people of North Reading. I have been in the Mass Department of Revenue for 20 years, and I've been a public servant of the whole Commonwealth, so I'm used to serving the people, and I will do my best.
I think Amy has a question from email.
Yep. So town finances, where would you reduce expenditures, and what ideas do you have to increase revenues?
Well, I believe that the Finance Committee does an excellent job on expenditures, finances. And I'm not saying that because Mr. Jones is sitting right here. I've had the opportunity to sit in their meetings, and they really go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, and they do an excellent job. Within the limits of Proposition 2.5, we must keep our finances within that limit. Proposition 2.5 is a gift, as pointed out to me by someone that is very wise. It keeps finances, it keeps the revenue within a certain percentage. It allows us as residents to choose when we wish to spend more than that Proposition 2.5. Finances are always a sticky issue. In terms of general government, we have a finite amount of cash to deal with. In terms of the school department, we have a finite amount of cash to deal with. The school department does a very good job of trying to stay within their limits. Obviously, that's a problem with 2.5. I don't know if I can point to something specifically and say, this is what I will cut. It's not really my job at this point. It will be in the future if I'm elected to look at all finances and look at all town budgets and to work with the school committee to figure out what is best for North Reading that falls within the range of cash that we receive in revenue. In terms of revenue, I think it is vitally important that we enhance our commercial tax base. The business, light industry, office developments are the way to go. They're the way it's the way that's going to bring revenue into this town. We have Concord Street, we have Main Street, and we have west of 62. Those are basically the three areas that we can expand our revenue with, other than residential growth. I think residential growth is hit the limit. We don't want to expand. We don't want to look that way to expand our growth. It's business and industry. There's millions of dollars to be had out there. We have to pursue that.
Do you have any plans to pursue, any specific plans on how you might pursue that, or some thoughts on how you might expand the industrial base?
Absolutely. The absolute most important vital thing that we have to do is we have to get sewer services. It is basically the key to our future. Now, Warren Pierce of the CPC has been working on this issue for 10 years. We do not have any sewer services at this time. 10 years he has worked on this. We're that much closer to getting sewer services. Now, revenue is going to come into this town with business and industry. We only have 3 locations that this can happen on. We have to get sewer services down there. Now, I know the Barry Reuse Committee is working on a recharge facility as a part of their decision in trying to get companies and developers to come to the Barry Center. Another option is to build this behind the DPW. Both of these sites have been okayed for a recharge facility. Now, Warren has been working on this for a long time, and he probably could tell you a lot more specifics about this, but I believe that This is very important that we get this recharge facility. Everything will flow from there, so to speak.
Super jokes. Thank you. I think we have a question from the floor. Mr. Spear?
Yes, Mr. Muldoon, I was reading your candidate profile, and I noticed that you had proposed a Commerce Committee. As a member of the Community Planning Commission, I always like, and a businessman, I always like to think that I'm looking down the road for the future of our business community and trying to grow our tax base, as you just mentioned. You mentioned that J.T. Berry should be developed as the most important element in the commercial tax base, and you're not in favor of the dual tax rate. Can you give me a little more specifics about what you might propose for this commercial commerce committee?
Yes, I believe that it should be made up of businessmen in the town, people who are shakers and movers, people that will attempt to attract business to the town, actively pursue it, go out there, try to get developers, try to get the computer industry, office buildings to come here. Now, you brought up the dual tax rate. I know one of my opponents is very much in favor of the dual tax rate. I am not. I am not in favor of it. I think that it will hurt this ability to attract businesses to our town. Believing that this is the most important thing to increase revenue in this town. I think there's anywhere from $3 to $5 million that are available out there just by attracting these businesses and light industry. The dual rate will do nothing to attract that. In addition, don't forget that when you hit businesses in this town with a dual rate, do you really believe that they will take the hit? They will pass that tax rate on to us. And every time you go into Walmart, every time you go to the Piccadilly pub, and every time you go to McDonald's, you will pay more. Every citizen will pay more. It will be passed on to us. It's not a good thing. I want more revenue here, and business and industry is the correct way to do it. I'm sorry, did I answer all your questions? Is there something I missed?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. You're not the only candidate who's emphasizing the importance of industry and commercial tax revenues, or the tax base, and making that a critical part of the town. But I think the financial facts of this year, specifically this year, may not necessarily lean towards that being something we can look forward to. With the way that the economy is going and the slowdowns, I was actually just told last night that Teradyne is going to be mothballing one of their buildings, so they're not going to be going through expansions. Many of us are dealing with companies who are doing layoffs or salary reductions. So in times that may soon be leaner than we've seen in the past, you're putting, it seems to me, an awful lot of weight into the industrial and commercial base when it still will come to the residential taxpayers to deal with that. Next year's going to be a tough year financially for the town, as we've just squeaked through on our budget this year. How are we going to solve those problems if you're on the board next year?
Well, we're going to have to go after as much revenue as we can in terms of what I'm talking about in terms of bringing revenue in. Yes, that's long-range planning, long range. We're talking out 3 to 5 years. It's very important. In terms of next year, we are going to be in trouble. There's not too much we can do about that. Again, we have Proposition 2.5. It brings in a finite amount of cash into this town. We will have to deal with the money that we can, that we receive. If there is a need to raise additional cash, then we will have to consider an override. A very unfortunate thing. Again, Proposition 2.5 allows us to make choices.